I'm the only one here who has condemned civilian killings on both sides. You've called it a mistake, which I find grotesque.
Joe Walsh, ex-congressman, was on Zeteo with Mehdi Hasan discussing Hamas Israel. When I say discussing, more like supporting Israel in its heinous war crimes in Gaza. We've seen time and time again US officials blindly following and supporting Israel. Joe takes it to another level, even when Mehdi Hasan blatantly shows a clip of a grandmother who was murdered whilst carrying her grandkids. He still refuses to call it for what it is. Yes, this video is a few months old. Who cares? His opinions haven't changed, and he needs to be exposed again for the things he said. Let's take a look.
I don't support Hamas. Do you support Hamas?
No.
I don't support Israel. Do you support Israel?
Yes.
So well, that's what we're going to talk about. Now,
stop! No.
It's very simple. You're here to support Israel.
No, but stop. But Hamas...
Why don't I talk about something we both disagree with?
Hamas has been the governing entity in Gaza for how many years? So yes, you do need to talk about Hamas, because Hamas did what they did on October 7th.
And we've condemned it. Do we both condemn
has a history... Do you condemn? Yes. Do you condemn?
But you're not condemning Israeli war crimes. That's what I don't understand. You're trying to dodge it with what about Hamas. It's a very simple question. I can keep going. Let's play a clip here. Let's play a clip for you to watch. We got a clip of a grandmother. Here's a grandmother. Maybe you're not aware of this one. This is a Palestinian grandmother in her 50s. She's holding a child, right, in her arm. He's got a white flag. She's shot in cold blood by an Israeli sniper who's...
Mehdi, I don't know what the hell that was. That's not... How do I know?
It's a sniper who shot at a Palestinian grandmother.
Mehdi, you invite me on, you show me a clip of that, and you tell me what it is. I'm sorry, okay, I'm not familiar with that. Okay? I'd like to know what that is. I'm not familiar with that.
You know I can go through multiple examples, right? You know that. I can start reading multiple examples. The Al-Dos family in Gaza, whose apartment building was bombed. We can go through each and every example.
But where you and I will disagree is this. And I'm telling you, this is ugly, and it's horrible, and it's unfortunate.
It's war crimes.
It's not Israel's policy to target civilians. Israel has gone out of their way not to. They are fighting an opposition, Mehdi, that has a history of doing the exact opposite.
You say they don't have a policy of doing that.
And see, you won't acknowledge that. Can you say yes or no to that?
What, yes or no to?
Does Hamas have a history of doing the exact opposite?
Hamas has a history. Hold on.
Target Israeli civilians?
Hamas has, yes, it has in the past. For example, when I was a teenager, I was condemning bus bombings, if you remember, in the 90s, right? But hold on.
As a policy, though, Mehdi.
This is pure whataboutism, Joe.
No, it's not. It is. As a policy. That's the policy of Hamas. The governing entity of Gaza.
I'm the only one here who has condemned civilian killings on both sides. You've called it a mistake, which I find grotesque. Let me read to you about Israeli policy. This is from Haaretz last year, Israeli newspaper. You're saying you're not aware of this, so let me tell you this. An Israeli soldier relays that a senior commander asked him to shoot an unarmed man with a white flag. He said he's got a white flag. He says, I don't care, shoot him, it's an order. Another Israeli soldier told Plus 972 there were no restrictions on ammunition. We could just shoot to relieve our boredom. We don't need to explain. You just shoot. When soldiers see someone approaching, it's permissible to shoot them. We can shoot a young girl, an old woman. This is testimony from Israeli soldiers, Joe, that it's a free fire zone. They can shoot and kill whoever they want. That is a policy. That is a war crime, and many would argue that's genocide. That is what you're defending today, which is kind of...
Absolutely disgusting from an ex-congressman. Whether we know what the backstory is or not, clearly a woman holding a child with a white flag, shot and killed in cold blood. There's nothing to question. Joe Walsh clearly says it's not Israel's policy to target civilians. Right after watching a clip of a lady getting killed in front of her kids, Mehdi then goes on to read statements where IDF soldiers were told to empty their barrels and unleash hell on anyone that approaches. If Joe had any humanity, which he doesn't, he could have relieved himself from any criticism. Instead, he would rather defend it.
No. I'm saying I condemn that. And
finally, hold on. It's easy to say I condemn it.
No, man.
Why won't you call it a war crime? I'll say what Hamas did on October 7th was a war crime. Will you say what I've described a war crime?
Here's what I won't give to you. Hold on. Maybe a war crime. I don't trust some international group who
You don't trust Palestinians who talk about being raped and tortured in captivity.
I don't trust an international group with an inherent anti-Israel bias to tell me that's a war crime.
Is the International Criminal Court anti-Israel bias?
Oh, God, yeah. Like the UN has. Like the UN has an interest.
You just made a claim. This is very Trumpy right now, just throwing things around. What is the ICC's evidence of anti-Semitism?
Do me a favor, do me one favor. Don't call it Trumpian. Don't call it MAGA.
Because it's so fascinating to see that you are borrowing.
I think the United Nations has an anti-Israel bias.
That's a different answer. I said it's the ICC. Where's the ICC's anti-Israel bias?
That's not Trumpian.
I don't want to debate that right now. I'm asking Israel, because it's a long debate. This is a very simple one. Where's your evidence of ICC anti-Israel bias? Most of the people they've indicted are African leaders. They haven't indicted anyone from Israel ever. They also indicted Hamas commanders.
Because I do not believe Israel's committing a genocide, and I think they were out of line saying that Israel's committing a genocide.
ICC never said they're committing a genocide.
What ICC said?
International Criminal Court said he's guilty. They charged him
with war crimes,
with willful killing of civilians and starvation.
Charge 2.
Right? And guess who backed them up?
Charge
guess who
2.
was their advisor?
Charge
Theodore
2.
Myron.
Charge 2.
Holocaust survivor.
Charge 2.
Israeli
Netanyahu?
Judge. Is he anti-Israel as well?
Charge 2. Netanyahu?
They charged Netanyahu and Gallant.
You think Benjamin Netanyahu and Gallant have purposely tried to destroy, kill, and starve?
That is what the evidence that the ICC have amassed.
That's what the ICC has
And your argument is, instead of engaging with the evidence, like the evidence I've given you, is to say that, hold on, let me finish that, anti-Israel bias. That's just Trumpian.
Mehdi, you're
not engaging in the facts.
Because you know what you've done? You know what you've done again? You're not the ICC, I'm not. You know what you've done? This is what you do. I love you, you're great, but you will grab example after example, and you'll tell me that factual instances, and you'll tell me this is proof that this is Israel's policy. And I'm telling you,
just read out to you what soldiers say is Israel's
policy is not to target and wipe out and destroy.
And the difference between me and you is you're just opining and I'm giving evidence. How do you know it?
I've given you an example. You're giving me examples.
So far, since this interview began, I've read out to you what the Deputy Speaker said, which you condemned. I've read out to you about a kid being killed, which you apparently... Let me finish. You keep interrupting me and saying I'm interrupting you.
Bullshit.
A kid being killed, you've condemned
it.
I've shown you a video of a grandmother being killed. You said you don't know anything about it. I've read out quotes from Israeli soldiers, and I've quoted the International freaking Criminal Court. And you said... they're just anti-Israel.
Tell me
that does sound Trumpy.
Well, they are anti-Israel.
I've
condemned
I'll
every.
Stay here all day. Where's your evidence that the ICC is
I'll
anti-Israel?
condemn every example you've given me.
Where is the evidence ICC is anti-Israel?
My evidence that they're not is the way that Israel has conducted this war. Period.
This is why it's a good idea to reflect on older videos. At the time, people like Joe thought they could come on national television and say what they like. Things change, investigations come to an end, and recently we've seen the UN finally call it for what it is, a genocide. Now, people like Joe and every public figure who cowardly supported the genocide need to be called to account. Let me know if you agree in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Support me by liking and subscribing, and I'll see you all on the next video. Peace out.